Okay, we are live now. So this is Dav. This is RadiAsian, the #1 station for the Asian invasion. I have the super talented and amazing Jessica Carson and Giselle Collazo of Clandestine Amigo. Now they shipped over their album from the States, which I have in my hand, and I think there's only like, is it 1,300 copies of this?
Mm-hmm.
And I've got one of them. Oh my god, that's absolutely amazing. It's beautiful. And tell you what, rather than me babble on like a dying witch, why not? Why not? How did you guys form?
Well, I write all the music or the songs, and then it kind of started actually with our drummer Michael Wooten.
Yes.
I had been playing some solo shows, and he asked if I wanted company, and so I said sure. Mm-hmm. And so he came on board, and then my guitar player kind of came on the same way. We were buddies, and he had not yet moved to town. He was in Denver, Colorado.
Yeah. And
I kind of gradually talked him into moving here where we are, just north of Boulder. Yeah. And he kind of did the same thing, like, well, if you ever need a guitar player, you just want to jam sometime. I said, sure. And bass player, kind of same way. And then Giselle and I have been good friends for quite some time, and, you know, regularly hang out and take walks and talk about life. And she had fronted a band. Well, she's probably fronted a few bands, but she had taken a little hiatus from fronting bands and being on stage. And I remember one day we were walking, and she's like, I think I might want to sing a little bit. It's like, oh, yeah? Well, why don't I just give you this music, and if you ever feel like singing with us, then you join anytime you want. And so it just kind of organically came together.
Wow. So, see, these aren't just your average musicians you're talking about. So, you know, for example, you mentioned Michael Wooten. Is it Wooten or Wooten?
Wooten, yes.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
So this guy is like a badass drummer, isn't he? Yeah. So and to make it to the Colorado Music Hall of Fame, he's an inductee.
Yeah.
So tell me about Drums and Wisdom. What is Drums and Wisdom?
Do you want to tell him about that one?
Well, you know, Michael is he's an incredibly generous and a person who is so generous in spirit, and he's funny. He's just a funny man. He says really funny things, and you know, he just has like these one-liners that keep us going.
One of my favorites is, "Do it quick, but don't be in a hurry," or "Make simple awesome."
Yeah. Make simple awesome is one of my favorite quotes from him, and there's so many. I think we even started
an Instagram account called Wooten Quotes, and every time he'd say something brilliant, we would put it on. He didn't even know he had an Instagram account. I just put a picture of him on there and started putting his quotes on there.
Oh my god, it's wow, absolutely brilliant. So Gus couldn't make it today. Obviously, he's out of town, like I said, right? Mm-hmm. So he's got some phenomenal engineering skills, like some crazy engineering skills, which is brilliant, and you can clearly hear it on the album. And I don't know why, you know, I'm not sure whether you're going to put it forward for any awards, because in particular, was it track? What was the line again? Pull a string, unravel the whole thing. That's track 7. That was Flying Blind. Where, mm-hmm. Paul McGowan of PS Audio said it's the most realistic in-the-room recording he's ever heard in his whole life. What's that saying? That's brilliant. You know, like
yes, it was a high compliment coming from Paul.
Yeah, because that, you know, I'd imagine he's a very meticulous sort of individual, you know, and I too myself, learning the art of audio engineering and all the rest of that in my younger days, I was under some extreme scrutiny by some people like that, and you know, to get a compliment like that, it's a very, very big thing, you know, from people who are mega fussy. So
sure.
So yeah. So
I've had plenty of insults in my life too to balance it out.
don't worry about it. Like, I work in radio. We get a thick skin. So okay. So Giselle is your mentor and soul sister, as well as an amazing vocalist as well. So tell me, the soul sister relationship and the mentorship.
Yeah, we've been good friends for a while, and I like to joke that Giselle is like my conscience that lives outside of my body, because so often we share the same opinion, and in something like mixing or producing, if I hear something that I don't quite like, but I'm not sure if I heard that, all I have to do is look at Giselle's face and see if it changed, because always it does. It's just a really subtle no, I didn't like that. And then I think, yep, okay, yeah, I didn't like that. We have to roll it back and do it again. And so I feel like our opinions line up so consistently that it's very useful in many ways.
And even when they don't, you don't want somebody around who's always going to yes you about everything, right? You want somebody who you can get a sanity check on, or like check me on this thing, whether it's interpersonal dynamics with human beings, or whether it's album mixing and producing. You want somebody who you can count on to give you the true. And if they have a different perspective on it, and that's another quality about us that really works well, and we're both really interested in how human beings operate, and like how our minds work and where we're coming from and our perspectives and our experience and empathy and what is it that's making this person tick this way, and like taking that into consideration, like the human beings around us and what's going on with them. So we also really share that passion for like just taking the time to take a second look at somebody when you're having a reaction to them or they're having a reaction to you. It's like considering the other, and that's something that we really we bounce off of each other a lot.
Both of you don't seem like the sort of people to eat a lot of tacos. So I was going to ask about Chris Brunhaver. So.
Oh, we eat tacos.
I'm from Texas, sir. I eat all the tacos.
Oh my god! I like the way you both said. You say tacos, don't you? Like we say, I don't know, tacos. Like, it's weird. So, tell me more about Chris then. For what I know, he's a speaker designer at PS Audio, a badass bass player, and he gives you random useful information. What's random useful information? What is that?
Well, first of all, I want to tell the story of how Chris made it into the band and on the album.
Yeah.
So Giselle and I originally were going to do this album just piano and vocals with maybe just a few accent instruments, like some strings and that sort of thing. And I came in one day and Gus says, "Hey, I had someone play some bass on some tracks, and I want to see if you like it. If you don't like it, we'll take it off. It's not a big deal if you don't like it, but I just want to see what you think about it." I said, okay.
Yeah.
So I listened through it, and it was absolutely beautiful. And I said, yes, let's keep it. And who is this guy? And there are a couple tracks that I'd like to actually sit with him and have him redo and coach him a little bit on what I might want.
Yes.
And so Chris is a loudspeaker designer at PS Audio. And he had just gotten a job there maybe a month before that interaction. And he's just a very lively character. He's a wonderful cook. He makes delicious tacos, among other things. That's where the tacos come from.
Yeah.
Inevitably, when we hang out with Chris, he just knows stuff about stuff. It's like, why do you know that? I don't know. It's just fun. So he knows a lot of random facts and like trivia type things.
Mm-hmm. Yep. He's full of random, cool information.
Wow. And could you tell me a bit more about Kyle Donovan? So he does comedy impressions, is that right?
It's funny. I had forgotten we put all this stuff in the description of the Amigos. Yes, Kyle does an amazing, what's the guy? Christopher Walken, among other things.
He does a really good impression of Christopher Walken.
Yeah. It's hilarious.
Throughout rehearsals, you know, like in between songs or giving each other feedback about, you know, the what we're working on in terms of the arrangements, and he'll throw it into a Christopher Walken voice, and it's everybody just falls out laughing. He's so good at it.
No.
I won't even try.
No, it wouldn't do it justice. But he's a really great songwriter on his own. You might check him out, Kyle Donovan. He wrote, recorded, and produced an album that he put out, I think, last year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful. It's really beautiful.
I gotta check it out. You know what I mean? I could play out some of his tracks on the radio show as well. Why not?
I think you should. Yeah.
He's a great guitar player and has a beautiful voice, and just a great songwriter as well. Kyle is super talented.
Mm-hmm. And it's fun. We do 3-part harmonies in the band. And Giselle and I have a similar register, and Kyle actually a lot of times, will sing the higher harmony because he has this very angelic, higher register voice. And so Giselle and I usually kind of stay a bit lower. So it's just kind of fun to have that blend.
Wow. Have I left anyone out of the equation here? So you know, I've asked about you two, Chris, Michael, and Kyle. And Gus obviously is away with all the, you know, he's mixing on a Studer console, isn't he? That's some heavy duty stuff, man. That is, you don't want to, you know, to mix on a Studer. I mean, you guys, that's beautiful. How long have you been at Octave Records? And tell me more about Octave.
Yeah, so that's right. We did mix it on a Studer console. I think it's with the C930. I can't remember the number, but it is a Studer, very clean sounding console, typically used for classical music. Yeah. So that's a nice quality of that board, is how clean it is. Yeah. So we just started at Octave. You know, we recorded the album last year, and this was before we started working for Octave. But in the process of making that album, Paul McGowan and Gus, working with those guys, it was a really nice fit. And they were launching this label, and they needed some help, and so they asked us if we'd be interested in joining the team to help with operations and production and mixing and A&R and all of that stuff. And so over the last few months, we have gone from working for them part-time to now working full-time for them.
Wow, yeah. Wow. How has the lockdown impacted that work?
Well, we do a lot of Zoom calls, just fine. Anytime we have studio sessions, everybody's in masks, and we can have a limited number of people in the studio. We're very careful about those sorts of operations. The only time somebody doesn't have a mask is if they're actively tracking vocals. So we do end up working from home a lot unless we are in a session, yes, or, you know, if Giselle has to go in for mixing or something like that. But we pretty much do everything from home at this point, just like everybody else. So.
Wow, I think us Brits are more like rebellious because, like, what it is, there's huge protests and, you know,
sure,
fighting the police over here up north, and Liverpool, Manchester, Birmingham, you know, London is happening over here as well. It's madness. But would you say that you know, because you've been working throughout lockdown, haven't you? So as a radio presenter, I've had copious amounts of music sent to me during the lockdown, which is a good thing. You know, people, you know, they're obviously not at their day jobs and they're thinking, well, you know, I love playing guitar, and they've made a track. So has it increased your productivity as a musician?
I think so, especially in the first few months. We went through a pretty regular phase of making dinner, and then we live together, Giselle and I, and we have one other roommate that's a drummer.
Wow.
And so we played music 3 or 4 nights a week sometimes.
Yeah, especially early on during the lockdown. Here in Colorado, we had the lockdown period, the full-on stay-at-home, and then things eased up a bit, and we all just we try to be very careful. We follow guidelines and try to be safe. But early on, we were cooped up, the three of us in the house, and we played a lot of music together. Mm-hmm. And Jessica started writing quite a few more songs during that time period. I think that she's become, I already think she's prolific. I just look around that it seems like I won't say it. But she could sneeze out a song, let's put it that way. It's a more polite way of saying it. But yeah, I observe her being her roommate, her housemate. I get to hear her working on new stuff all the time, and she's constantly singing new riffs to herself. And I'm like, "What is that? What is that? Is that a new song? What are you working on?" So that's pretty cool, and some of the hidden gifts of COVID, if we want to say it that way, is having more time to kind of quiet down life and not be schlepping gear around to gigs, and having time at home to work on your craft. So that's been a good part. I mean, of course, if you're dependent on gigs for money, for your income, then that's not so good. And there's a lot of people struggling in that way. But because we've had other jobs in addition to the music on the side, we've been able to take advantage of that quiet time.
Oh, wow. I've got to say something. I'll just say it straight. The lyrics, right, on the tracks are so deep that even some cold-hearted lizard of a radio presenter like me, even I froze in my chair yesterday. Like, people talk about love like it's something to hold on to, but every love I've tried to hold is gone. And I thought that someone didn't just write that came from the heart. So so I noticed there's that vibe, track 1, Somewhere, Enough, Everybody, and then track 5 was On Your Own. The pace picks up more on that one, but I just thought to myself, it's bloody excellent. It's excellent. So me and my other half, we had the album and we put it on in the car when we was out shopping. We thought, okay, let's just check it out. We just said it's amazing. Like, it's beautiful. It's actually the dynamics of it as well. It's masterful. The work of adepts. So that's why I thought I'm just blessed to have him on my show. It's an honor. And to be honest, looking at the work of PS Audio themselves, all the technical wizardry and all the stuff that they do, I didn't expect anything less, to be honest. So how do you feel about all this this high resolution recording? Is it DSD? Can you tell me a bit more about this, because it's pretty unique? A lot of labels aren't doing this, what you guys are doing.
Yeah, I had actually never heard of it until Gus. I had run into Gus at a coffee shop. He lives around here, and I had loosely known him just from playing in the music scene. Gus seems to be, he's always around somewhere at a coffee shop or a brewery or something. And I had ran into him, and I sat down and chatted with him, and he told me about this high definition record label that was starting up. And he was trying to explain the technology to me, and it was completely over my head. And so he's like, well, why don't you just come to the studio sometime and listen to some stuff? I said, okay, sure. So about a week later, I went in, and it blew my mind. I have never had an experience with music like that before, where the first guitar strum, I literally looked around me because I thought that there was a guitar player in the room.
Wow.
And he does have these amazing surround sound speakers, which helps, but it was just, it was such an amazing experience. And the more we listened, it brought tears to my eyes because the feeling of the music was there, like the emotional aspect of the music was there. I feel like so many times I'll hear a band that I love, and then when I hear their studio album, it's kind of like, well, it's good, but it doesn't have the magic in there. And I feel like because this technology, it captures so much information that somehow it actually captures the emotion in the voice and every little detail of fingers on the strings. And that's really what it is. The detail is just so different than a standard definition recording. And I'm still learning. I understand a high level view of the technology. Gus could really break it down for you and talk about the details.
It's brilliant.
But it's something special for sure.
The sound pulse sessions, I wish. So talk to me about that.
Yeah, the Sound Pulse Sessions is actually a series that it used to be live before COVID, and I was actually the artistic director, and so I booked all the bands and did the promotion for it. And my partner in that, Tim Gulsrud, is an excellent audio engineer. And when COVID hit, we decided to start trying to do live streams, which we successfully did. And we did that for, I don't know, maybe 6 or 8 months. And then when I started my job full-time at Octave, I just kind of thought, I want to put everything else I'm doing on hold because I tend to collect side jobs. I'll book music, and I run festivals, and I teach piano lessons, and I worked for the Chamber of Commerce, and I did all these things. And I thought, you know what, I really want to give this my full attention. And so I quit everything, and I'm just doing Octave.
How do you feel now you've quit everything?
I feel great. It was like a constant shifting my attention back and forth to all these different things. And it's nice to just focus on one thing. Yeah. So I actually really love it.
Yeah. And for me, the shift to Octave is also a huge step, because I was for 21 years working in corporate IT companies. I was a marketing manager for 21 years at enterprise level software and IT companies.
Wow.
And so the more the Octave label became a reality, and the more immersed we became, and the more consumed in my thinking I became with it. And, when that door opened, it was like, all right, well, this is an opportunity of a lifetime. It's the perfect meridian between a professional life, and also a life in music. So we both left our other jobs for this one.
Wow.
So that's pretty exciting.
It's very brave as well, because basically people, I don't know, you can get trapped in a way. You can get comfortable where you are in a routine, and this is your life, and then paycheck to paycheck, or how it works. And then, but there's something niggling inside you, isn't there, that you know what you've got to do, and you're put on this planet to do, and I think you're doing it very, very well. I'll be honest, it's just absolutely brilliant. So. The Longmont Creative District Advisory Board. How on earth do you get on the board? That sounds like some Mr. Burns at the Simpsons stuff. That's really cool.
Well, I worked for the Chamber of Commerce here for about 2.5 years, and in doing that, I met a lot of the people that work for the city, and so I ended up getting quite involved in the creative district. So we have a sanctioned creative district, and they get government funding to make sure the arts thrive. And so I have, independent of that, I've been part of the music scene here in Colorado for, I guess, going on 12 years now. And I have a passion for not just my music, but creating opportunities for other people. And when I hear a band or a singer-songwriter that I think really has something special, I want to encourage them, and I want to have shows that they can play and connect them with an audience and try and help them get their foot in the door. So I did a lot of work in consulting or working for venues here in helping them get their music programs up and running and giving them a list of musicians that they could hire that I had worked with and I knew would show up and do a good job and be personable and professional, and also are very talented people. So through all of that work, and in doing a few different festivals here in Longmont and co-founding a few festivals and then booking for another one that the city puts on, I'm just kind of around, and I'm just kind of one of the people that if somebody that doesn't know a lot about music needs music, I'm one of the people that they call, just because I've kind of built a reputation around that.
It's one of her secret superpowers is that she's a connector.
Oh.
Yes.
In addition to being an amazing singer, songwriter, musician, she is also a connector.
But look how you're not talking about your own talents, Giselle, because I think, you're a dancer, because you're actually...
Yes, she is.
I can tell.
Girl.
Oh,
she is.
Now I'm embarrassed.
Because I could see she's doing a little movement things on the chair and all that, and I thought, this is proper, this is...
Yeah, she's got the moves for sure.
Wow. So, right, what hurdles would you say that you had, tracking temporary circumstances?
Well, where should we start? The first hurdle was the reason that we were going to do a very stripped down version of the album, just piano and vocal centric, is because at the time that we were approached, when it was time to make the album, our drummer had shoulder replacement surgery. He couldn't play any drums, and it took him months to recover, and he is better than ever now, but at the time we didn't have a drummer. And then our guitar player, Kyle, his dad had a really serious health scare at that time, and we thought we might lose him, and it was a really serious time, and it wasn't a time to pull Kyle into making an album. and
this was pre-COVID.
Yeah. And so the first hurdle was, well, my band members are gone except for Giselle. Like, everybody has these extenuating circumstances of health issues and life things. And so that was the first hurdle of just deciding to go ahead and make an album with just the two of us. I think the next hurdle was we didn't have a producer, and I had never produced an album, which actually turned out to be kind of a blessing in disguise, because I sort of pulled Giselle into it, and I was like, I'm intimidated. I don't know how to do this. And she started coming to sessions with me and being more present and getting more involved, and it kind of shaped the way that we did the album. And we realized through that process that we work very well together in the studio, and finding our pace and kind of finding the groove between us in producing and mixing. We sat and mixed it with Gus. I'd say the third hurdle was we finished it. It was mixed. It was perfect. And then Paul heard it. He's like, I love it. It's great. Do you think you could put some drums on here? And I was like, no, it's done. But I talked to Giselle, the conscience that lives outside of my body, and she was like, well, it had been some months, and Michael, we call him Woot. That's Michael Wooten. And she's, well, Woot's better, and he's he's playing again, and it might actually be really nice to have him on the album. You know, when we look back, it'll be nice that he got to play on it. It's like, you know what? She's right. So we did drums on a few things, and I decided, you know, I actually really like that vibe a lot. And so we ended up filling out the rest of the album with drums, and did a few more bass tracks, and then added, by that time, Kyle's dad was better and everything was stabilized, and so he added his guitar. And so it turned into a full band album, even though it wasn't really supposed to be that way, or that wasn't the original goal.
Yeah, so just getting over the hurdle of our own attachment to how it sounded and how it was originally produced, you know, and so you get attached to that, and so that was hurdle number 3 to get over, was letting go and realizing, you know, we can keep those original tracks the way they are. We still have those tracks. If we ever wanted to release the stripped down version, there's an opportunity there to do that. And then all of the other good reasons to go ahead and move forward with adding the band members. So there were times I was thinking, we're Frankensteining this record, you know. There were moments of doubt, like, oh, is this going to work? Is this not going to work? But, you know, as you go along with things and you realize you have really solid performances and really great recording captures, and bringing that all together in the mix process and coming out and being like, wow, this actually does sound really good. I'm so glad we took this risk.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was a challenging album.
I read when I was doing my homework that you didn't clutter the album, like, you know, sonically. You kept it where only enough sounds to what was the right phrase, to not do the job, but to basic to hold. What was the philosophy behind it?
We made decisions based on what was in service of the song.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Well, it's kind of a mantra for us, you know, as we're trying to make decisions about arrangements, and even now, since then, you know, that's really become something that we've metabolized, and as we go forward with producing records for the label, for Octave Records, it is part of, you know, the ethos of it, you know, is not cluttering things up, leaving space in between, so that you could really hear the textures of the instruments, and not putting a bunch of tracks on something for the sake of making it big and loud, but for the sake of, you know, what does this song need to communicate? What needs to be said in this song, and choosing accordingly.
Of course. I've had a message come through from Claire. I love the album cover too, and just in case that you know, the viewers or listeners, you know, don't know, so could you tell me the story about the album cover?
Sure. Yeah, I have a graphic designer that has been doing my art for close to a decade now, and originally he had designed something else. And it's what I use as my logo. If you look at my Facebook or my website, you'll see it's like it almost looks like a prism, but it's a bunch of my faces. Yeah, so he took a bunch of my faces and overlaid them on each other. And originally, I thought that would be the album cover. And some time went by, and although I love the image and I've used it for stickers and everything else, I just felt like maybe there was something else. And I had remembered there's a photographer that lives here that I really like. He does a lot of nature shots and really great captures of the Milky Way and stars, and just really cool landscape kind of work. And I went and looked through his catalog, remembering this shack, and he has taken a whole bunch of different photos of it. He's done them in daylight, or it's snowing, or different angles. But the shack just really stuck in my mind. And when I found this particular photo, he actually didn't have the original anymore. he's like, well, I have this other one. I was like, no, it has to be this. And so what we did, the photographer's name is Brandon James.
Yeah.
And he said, well, whatever you need to do to it is fine. You know, I'm not too precious about my photographs. And so I asked Luis, my graphic designer, if there was anything we could do to the image to make it large enough for an album cover. And so you can't see it because he did such a great job, but he actually expanded the sky from the original photo, and he added sky on top so it would be large enough for the album cover.
Right, because the original photo dimensions are different from the sort of nearly square format of the disc cover. And so we had there a little bit of Photoshop magic.
Yeah, yeah. But we went through a few versions of it. One of the early versions, Luis had taken that multi-face kind of prism, and he actually put it in the stars, so the stars had a multi-face aspect to them, and it looked really cool, but it just felt like it was too busy. There was too much going on, and I really wanted it. I wanted to draw attention to the shack, because for me, that image represents the theme of the album of, temporary circumstances and just kind of knowing that at some point somebody lived in that house and there was life in that house, and it has seen probably decades and weather and nobody lives there anymore. And so it is what it is now. And so just remembering that all of life is really temporary and that we are a very small piece of the larger picture of life, of the world, of humanity. So
the stars though, are the stars real? Like that many of them?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, that's not an affected photo at all. It's a place out in Wyoming where there aren't city lights and it's just out in the country. But yeah, it's a real photo.
My God, Boris Johnson in his country's put a tax on the stars as well. So
you might need to look into that. Yeah.
That's mad.
Yeah.
Wow.
The stars are real, and the only thing that was changed was, taking like a strip of the stars and putting it up on top in order to make the dimensions of the photo fit the album cover. But the stars are real. Mm-hmm. I don't know what kind of night filters he's using. I've seen a lot of photographers doing stuff like that, but
I'm actually I want to find the photographer's page, and I'll chat it to you.
Yeah. Because
he really does capture some amazing sky images.
Wow.
So I'll chat it to you when I find it.
I think the only thing that I see in the sky over here is UFOs, and that's about it. I'm not even kidding. I'm serious.
We see lots of them out here in Colorado and Wyoming too. They seem to like this part of the world.
I think they like your music. That's what it is. They like your dancing. It's true. E.T. with the Do you know?
I'll dance for the visitors.
Brilliant. I love it. So, messages. You just sent the link, didn't you, for the Dark by Nature?
I'll share it on YouTube or whatever. He really just. If you're impressed by the stars in that photo, you really should check out the rest of his stuff. It's beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you. Tell me a funny story of the studio, or a live story. Come on, both of you. Tell me a funny story.
Ooh. Well, I can. This was before Giselle knew me, but I can tell you one of my more embarrassing moments on stage.
Okay.
So I was actually maybe still in college or just out of college, and I was playing with a little local band, and the sound was terrible. I mean, I could barely hear. The monitors were so loud that I couldn't really hear anything, and I couldn't hear my keyboard, and I knew the shapes of the chords well enough to play and be okay. And we get to the end of the song, and I hear this and I had hit the metronome button on my keyboard at some point, and everything was so loud that I couldn't hear it. And the metronome, I don't know how long it was on for the song, but it was on, and it was not in rhythm.
Oh no.
That's probably one of the more embarrassing moments of live performances.
This is how we learn.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So Giselle.
Well, the most recent one that I could think of, it's more of a funny thing. It's not embarrassing at all. But so as singers, we have to warm up our voices, right, before we go in either to perform or live or for recording. And one of the things that we do is this. It's how we do this thing where you flap your lips and you go from a low note to a high note, or you start at a high note, and it's something like this.
Oh, wow.
It's probably. Let's see if I can get it to do it now. But let's see. Right?
That's mad. I love it.
It's really awkward to do around people, and a lot of voice exercises for me are embarrassing to do around other people. But so we're in the studio with Gus, and we're tracking some vocal overdubs on one of the upcoming albums. And Gus, he had the microphones on, and she and I are doing these little, and he recorded them, and so. Just as we're about to start our track, when we needed to hear back something, and he put it into the track and totally threw us off.
we both take a breath, and we're about to start singing, and we hear. We just lost it. It was a good joke.
I think Gus plans on using that as some sort of collateral
blackmail. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh boy. These but those exercises, they're proper exercises, aren't they, to make your loosen, or wow. I remember when I was young, I saw this guy who's an opera singer, and he done his funny he did this hissing thing where he's hissing like a snake, and I thought, oh my god, he's possessed by the Indian serpent god or something. So I thought that was weird. And there was the me may ma be bay bar bol boo and
all of those
all those. Oh my life! I thought, wow, it's fascinating to see. So if you live that life as well of funny sound effects and funny faces, but that's brilliant, because that means you must have an amazing voice. Would you have?
So, sure, that's probably what that means.
We try.
Okay, now this one, family support. What do your families think about you? You're kicking butt. You're doing good in music. Have they always been supportive? Or?
Yeah, my parents have been. My mom is a piano teacher, and she has been since I can remember. And when it was time for me to go to college, I wanted to go for psychology. I thought I would want to be a counselor and help people in that way. And both my parents actually encouraged me to go for music. Just try a semester and see if you like it. So I kind of had the opposite experience that most people have, where they were actually pushing me to do it. And they're very proud. They've always been very supportive of my music and my songwriting. And we had a very small album release party where we had 15 people, and it was outside in the backyard of a close friend's house, and set up speakers out there, and everybody kind of social distanced and wore masks and all that. But my parents drove up from Texas about 12 hours to be there for it. So yeah, I have a pretty good support system. And my boyfriend is very music supportive as well. So
you're lucky, Giselle.
Yeah, so I came from a musical family as well. My mom was a singer as a child, and her father was a well-known musician in Puerto Rico. My parents are from Puerto Rico, and so my mom sang, and her father was like I said, he was a well-known musician on the island back in the 30s. He was the first musician with a band, what they call a conjunto, a little band, and they played on the radio live when radio first came to the island, and they had the capability to broadcast live music. He and his band were the first to play. So I never got to meet him. He passed away before I was born. But my mom always, kind of lived vicariously through my musical journey and was always very supportive. She has since passed as well. But my dad is still alive in New York, and he's very, very supportive, as are the rest of my family scattered around. But yeah, and great friends, we have a very tight-knit community of friends here, so they're family to us as well, family of choice. And so we get a lot of support and from all of them.
That's brilliant answers from both of you, because like in our community, like I'm first generation in the UK, so my parents are from India. And then, they come over here and gave birth to me over here in UK. It's like, you will be doctor. You will be lawyer now. Music, why are you doing? What is wrong with you? So at the end of the day, so but I went the other way. I thought studying finance and law can be very, very soul sucking. It can. Going to bed with a calculator, that's not the one. that's not the one. So at the end of the day, that's why I always ask that question. It's just to see, so maybe some of the older generation in that community can realize. But okay, so have you been okay? You've kind of answered this question, right? In a way. Okay, I'll hit you with it. Have you ever been? What have you been wrong about? Because you kind of answered it by saying you weren't so sure about the original versions of the tracks, and then that you beefed them up with all the other instruments, and you fell in love with them. But is there anything you've changed your mind about? Regarding recording and the music, where you've learnt something new, or maybe the question's a bit vague, isn't it?
No, I think the creative process is constant learning. And whether that's something as small as maybe I'm writing a song, and in the process of writing it, I have a chord structure that I'm working with. And because I haven't played this chord structure very much, my muscle memory doesn't know it yet. And maybe I hit I hit a chord that I didn't mean to. And so for a split second, my brain says, oh, that was wrong. But then the creative part of my brain hears it and says, actually, I think I like that better. Well, let me try it. It wasn't a wrong note. It was an accidental insight into a better chord. Oh, wow. And so then trying it with the new pattern and seeing if I like that more. And that's happened with quite a few songs where what I perceive as a misstep or a missed chord actually turns into the cooler part of the song.
That is so.
And so I think that's just a really small example of what I think we experience in music all the time. Of maybe we try a vocal part together, and we think, well, let's try it this other way. Actually, no, it's better the other way. Well, let's try it maybe a completely different way. And so it's not getting too stuck in a mindset and in one direction, or completely changing the tempo and the feel of a song. Because if I switch from playing like piano to accordion, then it's very natural to be able to change the whole feel of a song, even though the lyrics and the chords are the same. So I don't know if that directly answers the question, but I think just keeping that open mind in the creative process is essential.
You are very lucky, Giselle, because Jessica longed out that answer and gave you time to think there.
It's so true. And you know what happened was while she was talking, I came up with an answer and then I forgot it. And I was like, oh no, I just lost it. I had the answer and it went away.
Maybe I'll come back.
No, but I got it now. So I better jump in before I lose it again. You know, I think that one of the things that I've been learning since, you know, now we're spending so much time in the studio working with other artists, is that learning to trust my intuition more. In listening to takes, maybe something didn't sound quite right in that take, and my gut may have responded to it before my brain did, and having the ability, cultivating a trust in my intuition about it enough to say, I think we need to, let's listen back to that. I heard something in there that wasn't quite right. And being able to trust the team that I'm working with, Jessica or Gus or the artist, to be able to be honest and give that feedback and really work together to continue cultivating the best takes of the performance, and to trust my gut on it, to trust my ears, a lifetime of listening to music and making music with others, and to know that typically, here's the thing, here's what I'm getting at. Yeah. The moments that I don't speak up, somebody else inevitably notices the thing or doesn't. And in retrospect, we're like, oh, we missed that. But at the time, I noticed it and didn't say anything. And so that's been one of the things that I've learned and had to sort of change my mindset on it, is that, yeah, I actually have good ears and can trust my musical intuition and trust the people around me as well to be able to put that on the table.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I want to speak for Giselle and say that she is really good at delivering feedback in a way that isn't like damaging to your ego. Because like what you don't want to hear is that wasn't very good, you need to do it again. You know. And even though I've sat in sessions where maybe we're listening to someone do a vocal, and I'm sitting there thinking, no, not that. And when Giselle talks to them, she's so kind. She's like, I think you have a better one in you. Or, you know, she frames it in a way that's not damaging, and it doesn't like suck the life out of the person. You know, she's very encouraging with her feedback, which is hugely important in cultivating a creative space that people feel comfortable and they feel like they can be vulnerable with their craft. So it's fun. It's cool to watch.
I think she's cutting herself short there. She has that skill as well.
But I think really mean thoughts in my head.
Right. That is actually quite good, because one of the lines, I'm capable of evil, and you could cross those same lines. Sure. Everybody. So give me the everyone's gonna hurt you, everyone's gonna lie. So I thought it ties in just right there. So that's a deep track. They're all deep. So give me an insight into that one, because that one was like bam, straight in the Indian man's heart. That was
that one came from an interesting experience that I had where I had a relationship that lasted for 12 or 13 years. And when that ended and I was dealing with kind of the aftermath of it and learning and figuring out how to move forward and how to like finding the takeaways of, okay, what did I learn from this experience? How can I be better? How can I interact with people better? And coming to realizations of what I personally did wrong in the relationship. And then fast forward some time and enter a new relationship. And I saw that this new person, the very things that I had done in my old relationship that weren't good to do, they were doing to me. So it was a weird parallel of, oh, I'm seeing how my last person felt when I did that.
Yeah.
And realizing that I could see myself in this other person. And that's where the line comes of, I see myself in the mirror, of I've taken stock of myself. I've looked at myself and examined myself. And because of that, I can see myself in your eyes. I can see you. You are me. And we are the same in this way.
Wow.
And realizing that in certain ways, the mistakes that I made, this person could then also make these same mistakes and cross the same line that I did. And how all of us, every single person, is capable of causing these same hurts in different ways to each other. So nobody is exempt from the potential evil that we all have, but we make certain decisions to be a good person, which I think we're all both. I think we all embody both. Yeah. But what matters is the decisions you make. Of course, you and she and I and everybody, we're all capable of making decisions that are hurtful to other people. And it's getting to a place where you trust another person enough to go ahead and be vulnerable with them and trust that they will make decisions that won't be harmful and hurtful to you. But as much as you try, if you're with someone that you love, they're going to hurt you and you're going to hurt them. And the important thing is that you can work it out and talk it out and come to some sort of resolve. But yeah, that's kind of where that song stemmed from.
I was right. I knew it.
Nailed it.
Come straight from the heart, So, okay. So how about this? I picked up on. Did you know track 5, right, on your album, right? Which is On Your Own. It's the only track, right? This is how sad I am, right? That fades out. And, and I thought it's the only one that fades out. So I checked the endings of all of them, and I think that's the only one. I thought, okay, I'll make a note of that. That's the only one that fades out. And I thought, what made him make that decision of fading a track out? I thought, is that the mastering engineer's decision, or how shows how sad and geeky I am?
I can't remember. Let's see. Well, it was an extended solo that you do there. Gosh, I can't remember, but it seemed cool to do at the time. It was like, oh yeah, good old fashioned fade out. Let's do it.
Yeah. It could have been, that progression is somewhat repetitive. And although I'm playing some interesting soloing style things over it, I think I remember listening to it and feeling like, well, that got a little repetitive, and maybe we should cut it like quicker than that. I wish I hadn't played that long at the end. And I think somewhere in realizing it felt too long is when we made the decision to fade it.
What got me about the song was lend me a hand or leave me alone. I'd like to drown here on my own. I thought, whoa. That's savage. I thought that's a statement and a half, isn't it? That is
Yeah, it is savage. It's like, if you don't handle me a certain way, I'm gonna bite you. It is kind of savage. It's a little defiant. I think that's kind of one of those songs where I'm vague about the meaning on purpose, because it's so, to me, in my life and what it's really about, it's so pointed that I had to really kind of camouflage it in poetry. Wow. Because the actual message of the song is super direct and calling someone out on a certain behavior that I don't approve of. And so kind of masking it in poetry helps me talk about it without really talking about it, if that makes sense.
It makes sense. It makes sense. It's brilliant. So you express yourself through the lyrics clearly, you know, in a very very effective way. Now I've got to ask about so Giselle, you did the backing vocals, like, you know, on Long Gone. Am I right? And they were like badass. I picked up on that. I thought bloody brilliant. So brilliant melody and vibe. When I asked you to show yourself, you didn't respond. You were long gone. This is it. I've been living here. I've been living in a world which isn't my own. I've been sitting on this godforsaken throne. Why? And I thought that is see, I do my job properly. You know what I mean? It's true. That's what I'm trying to say. If you're a presenter and you're an interviewer, you do it properly. You don't do no half-assed job. You know what I mean? You listen to the lyrics and you write them down. You analyze things, and that's how you.
What do you think that song is about? I'm curious.
I like the way you threw it back at me. I love that. That's it ties to being hurt and state of mind, isn't it? You know it's how you living in a world which is my own. I've been sitting on this godforsaken throne, somewhere we don't really want to be in life. You're just somewhere which you don't want to be. I don't know. I'm guessing. You know. You can ask me. I'll make it into a Bollywood film. You know.
Well, it's curious because I mean, I write these songs from my own experience, but inevitably the listener is going to have their own interpretation, and if the lyrics resonate with you, then it's probably because you're applying it to your own life and your own circumstance. And I'm always interested to know how other people interpret kind of experiences that I put into a certain art form, and then you get to put it into your life and into your filter and see it a certain way. So I was just curious.
He turned the interview around on me, which means I should put you on my wage. You know, I should put you on, £2 an hour.
That's right. I'll give you my Venmo if you want to just send over. No, actually, that song is the only song on the album that I wrote years ago. And that song is about a time that I grew up in a very religious family. And at a certain point in my life, I didn't feel like that was the truth for me anymore. And that song is about me losing my religion. And in saying the godforsaken throne it was me all along. You know, I thought I was praying to a god, or I thought I was interacting with something beyond myself. But as I look back, actually, I was just talking to myself. Is kind of in the moment is the conclusion that I came to. And so in that line of I'm living in a world that is my own, sitting on a godforsaken throne, and it's only my voice. My voice is the only sound I've been hearing, and that's where that came from. That's
deep. That's a proper revelation, and I think Ned Flanders would fight with you over that. Sorry. So I love it. Okay, you did the alternative version of Long Gone, right? And I thought, I think on the radio show that I did before last, I played it out, and I thought, so tell me about the two versions and the decision making process behind track 6 and track 10. The two versions of Long Gone.
I just went blank. I did. I just
well,
I think I just had a calorie drop.
No, it's all right. It's okay.
I think I need to chew on something.
It's cool. It's cool.
I should have said it before this. No. I remember actually what happened with those two. So, when we play it live with the band, it's track 10. That's how we play it.
Okay.
And because of the way that we recorded the album, where all of the songs were stripped down, piano, vocal heavy, the version that we made for the album is track 6. And then when we had the opportunity to fill out the rest of the songs with more instruments and the full band, we made track 10. But then when we actually heard it in the lineup, we both felt like, you know what, the other one actually fits better. And it was kind of a thing of, well, which one do we use? We like both of them. And so I asked if maybe we could just use both and use kind of the upbeat, rockier version as a bonus track. And they said, sure, no problem. So I was happy. And I know that people that know our music and have heard that song live lots of times were happy to be able to have both versions.
Can I ask this cheeky question, right, to both of you? Right. What is your favorite track on the album? Got you thinking, eh?
Hang on.
Look at it.
By the way, I love that thing you did, that promotional thing where you actually use the names of the tracks and you went like that. that was gangster. That was just gangster.
Funny.
I thought no one's done that. I thought that's badass.
We originally had talked about doing that with sock puppets,
Wow.
but we had a lot of wine when we came up with that idea, and the next day we decided no sock puppets.
No sock puppets. It was quite funny at the time.
Yeah, it was.
I think Thinking About You is my favorite one. That's the one with the little riff.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the one. It's got that little bit of a Doobie Brothers feel to
Totally.
it that I've always said that song has that little bit of the Doobie Brothers in it. I don't know why, but that's what I think of. So yeah, Thinking About You might be my favorite song on the album.
Wow, that's with the electric guitar in it, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Is it Kyle?
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And there's a little string section on that one.
Oh, that's right. The string section too.
Yeah.
I'm kind of split between. I've actually always fluctuated my favorite between Somewhere and The Reasons Why.
Wow.
And depending on which mood I'm in. But I feel like the horns on The Reasons Why really make that song for me. But Somewhere, it carries this nostalgia feeling in it. And even just, I'm not typically moved by my own music, like when I hear it back.
Yeah.
But when I hear that song back, it still holds the feeling that I had when I wrote it. So that's maybe my favorite.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Giselle, you was going to say something?
Yeah, I was thinking it's worth mentioning. You had asked me before about my background vocals on Long Gone, and I wasn't sure if you knew that and that I sang the background vocals on all of the songs.
I knew that, but what it is, I made note of that one because I thought it's beautiful on all of it, but I don't know what it's the headphones or whatever, but it jumped out on the headphones. I was like, whoa! I was like,
Oh, yeah.
This time I thought it's beautiful. It's beautiful all the way through.
Got it. So yeah, great. Thank you for that. Just for the sake of the listeners in the audience who may not have the liner notes in front of them.
Yeah. Another cool thing that I think we should note about this album is I had never done this before. I'm not sure that you have, but when we did the vocals, we did all of the vocals at the same time together into the same mic. So you can't actually split these apart. They're not overdubbed. And so we sat there like staring at each other's mouths and like really getting every single word in sync.
That's
and
good.
if I was a little off, poor Giselle would have to do it again.
I think that's brilliant because that relationship there, between you two on the microphone there, it's not, you won't be able to get that the same when it's already been tracked and you're overdubbing it. So I think that magic, because that's the way the magic is actually there. In that recording. Can I ask you a question? Do you have an involvement in Copper Magazine? Because issue 124 is out now, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's...
Yeah, that's right. Copper Magazine is published by PS Audio.
Yeah.
I think it's their bi-weekly music magazine. So yes, going forward, I'll be doing some writing for. We have a new column, a music column, called the Octave Pitch. And that will be a column dedicated to news and updates and stories about Octave Records.
Absolutely brilliant, because like I love the cover art on it. On 124, I checked it out. I thought, right, rescuing the turkeys in the dead of night from the turkey farm. I thought, how badass is that? That's brilliant, isn't it? 'Cause around this time of year, turkeys are gonna feel scared, aren't they?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. They're looking for cover. That a magazine is edited by Frank Doris, and I really enjoy his writing, and he's got a really great team of writers. The articles are all really interesting, and they take deep dives into music. All kinds of music, classical music, all genres. And I think he's got a great team of writers putting that magazine together. And so now we get to join the team and make some contributions to that in a small but meaningful way. And so I highly recommend checking that magazine out. They really take a very they're discriminating listeners, but they're also they're not just discriminating in a sense of like, oh, let me just criticize things. Like they're really in it for appreciating music.
Yeah, I can tell. I can tell. Didn't you review? Is it Otis Taylor's the new album?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that come out on a few days ago.
Yesterday.
Yeah, yesterday. Mm-hmm. Yeah, yesterday. That come out yesterday. So
yeah.
I was checking that out, and I was thinking, I was just listening to before the show. The heart is a muscle, like the bass line in the track's like a heartbeat. And I thought that is absolutely bloody brilliant. The steak song, I thought that's it's interesting, but I thought I don't eat too much meat and all the rest of that. But I thought sometimes you eat the steak, sometimes the steak eats you. I thought that's deep. That's deep. very deep lyrics. So working with the label, do you get to collaborate with the artists in terms of like because I'd imagine you would do, so you're not just isolated into this is your album and this is your album. So actually, let's jump on a track together. So, what's next for you in the future? What is next for Clandestine Amigo? What's next after this whole lockdown weather?
I have a whole album's worth of songs written that it's just a matter of rehearsing them with the band and figuring out arrangements and make another album maybe next year. But in collaborating with the other artists, we're working on a project right now that we've really gotten to be very hands-on, and Giselle's kind of headed up the producing of, okay, you're going to do accordion on this one and piano on this one, and we're going to do background vocals on these songs. And so that's been a lot of fun in getting to add some parts onto another person's album. And then we're also working with a really talented singer that just has a gorgeous voice. And she's not a songwriter, and I have a ton of songs. And so we've kind of been going through my back catalog, and I'm not totally sure how it's going to work yet, but I think Giselle and I are probably going to end up doing backing vocals on those songs, which I would think I am excited for that, getting to add in that way and sing backing vocals with Giselle on my own songs with a vocalist that I feel like our voices blend with really well. So that feels exciting. Wow. But as far as Clandestine Amigo, I mean, I don't see us really playing very many shows in the near future. I have one solo thing booked in December that's going to be put on by the Longmont Museum. It's like a holiday special show, and they're having a few different artists play 30-minute slots.
Yes.
But it's just it's like a live stream kind of thing.
I understand. Everything's gone live stream. you know.
Yeah.
I totally understand. Is there anything else you'd like to add? That you think the listeners need to know.
Yeah, I don't advertise it a whole bunch, but I have a Patreon page. I don't know if you're familiar with Patreon, but
I am. Yeah.
I put out songs on there that I may never release in the future. And I have kind of exclusive content. Like we did a whole series of videos earlier this year that I put on Patreon that I didn't release to the public. And so there's a lot of material on there. If people like the music and want to hear more, I don't really put very much on streaming sites. But if you go to the Patreon and subscribe to that for like $5 a month, it's a lot of stuff. Lyrics and live performances from the band from the past, and new songs and stuff that won't be released anywhere else. So
wow. Is there anything that I've missed that you think that as a presenter I didn't cover?
I think that you did a pretty great job today.
Really?
Yeah. I appreciate the opportunity to get to talk about the music and Octave Records and talk about kind of how Giselle and I work together on so many different things.
Yeah.
And it's just fun you seem like a delight. If we lived in the same vicinity, yeah. I'd want to like go get a beer or something with you.
Certainly,
awesome.
Yes.
So, yeah, thank you for having us.
No, it's been an absolute pleasure. It's been a real honor. To have you here and on the stream thing. It's just the music is absolutely beautiful, and like as a presenter, it's one of the perks of the jobs to get an album sent to you. I thought, no, they're not going to send it all the way from the States. And lo and behold, the thing turned up. I thought, what the hell is this? And I opened it. I thought, wow, I've actually got it. And I was like, Claire, the album has arrived from America. And there's like Donald Trump's inside. So I thought, I absolutely, I love it. So could you please tell everyone your socials? Where to get, or shall I read out the social? So your PS Audio page, products. You'll find the album there. You got your Facebook Clandestine Amigo, and obviously Copper Magazine on PS Audio, Instagram Clandestine Amigo, the Patreon page as well for Clandestine Amigo. I've mentioned the Facebook
YouTube
one.
Channel, Clandestine Amigo YouTube channel.
Cool.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah, that's it. And I also just want to, encourage your listeners and your audience to keep in touch with Octave Records releases. We've got more and more records coming out, other really fantastic artists, and this high resolution recording format that very few are doing. Yeah. And so if you're really interested in high quality, high resolution recordings, Octave Records is going to be the place to keep your ear to the rail on, so to speak, and stay tuned for a lot more great releases coming out, in addition to more Clandestine Amigo and a lot of the artists who we're working with in this amazing recording format.
Oh, wow. Could I please ask a favor of both of you, if that's possible? Is it possible that you could both say, this is Clandestine Amigo, you're listening to RadiAsian, the #1 station for the Asian invasion? Is that too much? Is that too much of a tongue twister?
Wait, I want to make sure we get it right.
Put it in the chat so we can read it.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Let's do it that way.
Okay. I am on the case. Here we go. Right, here we go.
For the Asian.
So I thought, what I'll do with that, I'll edit it, and as the radio's playing on the server, like it'll go out. So hello, this is Clandestine Amigo. Oh my god, I've got a mogo, right? I'm Clandestine Amigo. You're listening to RadiAsian, the #1 station for the Asian invasion. And now that'll wind up some Trump supporters. Well, with Trump's out of power. But here we go. It's all right. Yeah. Okay. Has that gone across to you?
Yes. Should we try and do it in sync? You want to add Clandestine Amigo in Colorado?
Yeah. Can we add it from Colorado so that they know where we're from?
Most definitely. Thank you.
Okay. I want to try and internalize it.
Okay.
So I don't have to read it on the screen. So we'll say, hello, this is Clandestine Amigo from Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
You're listening to RadiAsian, the #1 station for the Asian invasion.
Okay.
We're going to try. We'll try to do it together. We might have to do it a couple times, just like singing background vocals,
just
right?
Maybe a couple takes here, huh?
Okay, that's cool. No worries.
Okay. So 1, 2, 3.
Hello, this is Clandestine Amigo from Colorado. You're listening to the RadiAsian, the #1 station for the Asian invasion.
That's brilliant.
One take wonders. First take.
That's brilliant.
First take.
Okay.
Let's do one more just in case. We were a little off on that one part. I think we could do it better.
This is what she does.
I think we should do it better.
Okay.
Okay.
1, 2, 3.
Hello. This is Clandestine Amigo from Colorado. You're listening to RadiAsian, the #1 station for the Asian invasion.
That was it. That was it.
Right. See, and she's always right.
That was the one. That was. That's brilliant.
Put it in your notes. The second take.
Oh yeah. That one smashed it. I thought the first one was good, but the second one, that was pure chicken tikka masala. That was brilliant.
My favorite.
We at RadiAsian are proud to support you in your projects. Everything from Octave Records, and we're going to be playing out obviously tracks by Otis Taylor as well. You told me to do my homework and check out Kyle Donovan's work, which I'll do as well. Thank you so much for your time and your energy, and you're great, beautiful souls, very, very talented. Put me to shame, and it's just an honor. So thank you so much.
Yeah,
thank you so much, Dav. It's an honor for us as well, and we wish all of your listeners and your audience continued health and safety during these challenging times. Much love from Colorado.
Thank you. Bye.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye. Wow. That was amazing. That was amazing. That was an amazing interview. That was an amazing interview. Amazing. is sackable if I've done that. Brilliant album. Perfect.